Hello, friends, and welcome back to Dare Me to Prosper. My name is Avery, and I'm your host, and this is episode 41, and we're talking about protecting your peace around difficult people, especially if you are an empath. But even if you don't consider yourself an empath, just being around difficult people, whether they are family members or coworkers or just people close to you in general, we all have people in our lives that are particularly difficult to be around, to get along with. People that drain you, that tear you down, that insult you, that make you anxious, that project fears, insecurities, and judgments onto you. Maybe they're super inconsiderate. Maybe they're really self-absorbed. Maybe they are a narcissist, a Karen, always complaining. Maybe they're always grumpy. Maybe they're always ruining experiences that you have together. Maybe there's always negative feedback. Maybe they always make rude or passive-aggressive comments, etc., etc. I know that someone or maybe a few people have come to your mind just with me saying that, because we all have these people. And just like you, I too have these people in my life, whether they're family or ex-family or just people that you can't necessarily cut out of your life, that you have to be around, that you have to deal with in some capacity. And so we're going to talk about ways that I have learned and am working on, and now sharing with you ways to protect your own peace and to kind of make sure that you are contained and safe within your own bubble so that these people have little to no effect on you or your emotions. Because again, especially if you are an empath, your nervous system is naturally more sensitive. And when someone is operating from a very narrow or fear-based frequency, or they just are coming from a very negative energy, it's very easy to absorb their energy without even realize you're doing it. You're a sponge that kind of soaks up that energy around you. And so if you are a sensitive person like myself, this is a really important topic, because you might not even know or realize how much other people's energy is affecting your own until you stop allowing it to affect your own. But let's talk about these difficult people, shall we? You probably know a couple of people at least that feel very high conflict, that feel very difficult to be around, whether it's sometimes or whether it's all the time. And not to give them an excuse, because I feel like everyone is responsible for their own energy, their own baggage, the things that we need to deal with. However, these things are rarely personal. They can be personal, but a lot of the time, the friction that we feel between ourselves and these difficult people comes down to what they are projecting onto you, like their unresolved fears, their past conditioning, their limited mindset, their scarcity mindset. They are feeling some sort of limiting belief or some sort of fear or some sort of negative emotion inside themselves, and they are projecting that onto you. 99% of the time, it comes from their own shortcomings, their own struggles, and things that they are not dealing with. But of course, much of the time, people don't realize that this is what's happening. They just have these emotions bubbling up, these negative feelings bubbling up, and then they act on them because they have not yet dealt with those feelings internally. So from an energetic perspective, a lot of times when you have a misunderstanding or if you have some sort of conflict with another person, oftentimes it's someone who is operating from a different energetic level than you are. Whether it's you in the low energetic space and maybe they are operating from a higher frequency, or vice versa, it is difficult to see eye to eye with someone who is operating from a completely different frequency than you are. Again, back to the radio signals, right? Your frequency is like tuning your body to a specific radio station. If you are operating from one radio station and somebody else is operating from another radio station and you're trying to communicate, it's going to be pretty hard because you're not on the same page. You're not aligned. You're not listening to the same things. You're not getting the same feedback. And so you're talking past each other. You're talking around each other. It's difficult for you to be on the same page, the same frequency. But the first and most important aspect of understanding a better, healthier way to look at these situations is for you to remind yourself that this other person's perspective is not a reality of your worth or your reality. If you can understand that, you have taken the first step towards strengthening your boundaries in a way that protects your peace. Because what we are going to talk about in this episode is how to protect your peace, and that ultimately is going to come down to your self-confidence, your self-worth, and your ability to hold boundaries, not just physical boundaries, but energetic boundaries. And we're going to talk about how to do that. Because some of us do have situations where we cannot physically really get space from difficult people, whether you are living together, or maybe you're working in the same office with someone that you see every day, or maybe you're co-parenting with a difficult person, or maybe it's just like a mother-in-law that you can't help but see very often. So protecting your energy does not always mean distance, because we don't always have the luxury of distancing ourselves from certain people. It means learning to maintain your internal boundaries even in close proximity. And this is where most people struggle, and this is where the conflicts come out, and this is where people get upset, or they get their feelings hurt, or they hurt someone else's feelings, and you just have a lot of emotional chaos. And if your life is filled with emotional chaos, you cannot maintain alignment. You're going to have a hard time growing and developing your gifts, manifesting the things that you want, because at the end of the day, everything comes back to your frequency, your energy, and how at peace you are. So the first step, again, is remembering and recognizing when you are dealing with a difficult person. It's important to remember that they are projecting their issues onto you. These are not your issues. This is their fear or frustration or unresolved trauma or whatever being projected onto you. And the key is to stay calm and stay in your own space. And the key to that, and the way you do that, is strong boundaries, self-confidence, self-worth, standing on a solid energetic foundation so that these things don't trigger you anymore. Because let me tell you, I'm a sensitive person. I have been a sensitive person my entire life. Now I recognize that I am an empath. I tend to absorb a lot of other people's energies. I'm very, very sensitive to just tiny shifts in tone or people's intentions behind their words, or when someone is feeling out of sorts, even if they hadn't said anything. I'm very sensitive to absorbing all of that energy from people around me. Being in crowds is very difficult. Being in any kind of crowded space is difficult. Oh my God, walking into a Trader Joe's as an empath. And so as someone who has been criticized for being overly sensitive my entire life, or just feeling very misunderstood, especially over my 13-year marriage that I recently ended, and through, probably like most of you, just being around a lot of difficult people, family, friends, all sorts of people, I have had to learn for my own sanity and to protect my own energy. I've had to learn how to build strong boundaries. And this wasn't even something that I considered doing until I started on my spiritual journey, because before that, I just kind of thought, I'm just a sensitive person. Yes, I know I get my feelings hurt, easily, or I know that I absorb energy. If you are having a crappy day and you're making it everybody else's problem, I am the first person to absorb that energy and start to also feel crappy, even though my day is fine. I pick up on collective energy in the world. If I am in a crowd of angry people, that is going to be absorbed into me. Over the last 5 years in particular, I have really worked hard at learning how to stay in my own lane, so to speak, to protect my energy, which starts in the mind. Because again, especially with my really unhealthy marriage, I could not escape this person, right? I was living in the same household at the time. And so I had to figure out a way to stay inside my own energetic space without letting him affect my emotions and my energy. It was not easy, but it was 1,000% worth it, because once I started understanding how to do that, what that looked like, and I started recognizing that I did in fact have the ability to put those boundaries up energetically and not allow them to be so permeable, I became so much happier, and it became so much easier to just continue in my own positive energy or continue in my own emotions, because now I had the tools to do that. And it would have changed my life a lot earlier if I had known. And once you have the ability to maintain your own peace and your own energy without other people effing it up, It's so much easier to stay in alignment, to manifest what you want, to have healthier relationships, to maintain a higher energetic state, which essentially means you're just leading a much happier life. And now listen, there's physical boundaries and then there's energetic or emotional boundaries. If you have the ability to put physical boundaries in place, like if you don't want to have this person in your life and you feel the need to disconnect or separate from them physically, do that. But if you don't have that ability, you can still protect yourself energetically, which means not absorbing their criticism or observing that they are projecting things onto you without reacting to them. Consciously deciding what energy you allow into your own system, into your own energetic field. So it's not really about resisting the negative people so much as more as it is being fully present in your own field and having boundaries that other people cannot cross regardless of what they say or do. This is a muscle that you strengthen. This is a lifestyle habit that you need to embody. It's a way of living, to go about your life in such a state that other people can't affect you the way they used to. You know, have you ever heard of Mel Robbins' phrase that she coined that she likes to say, this whole let them do it, let them do this, let them do that. And the principle is essentially allowing other people to do what they're going to do without you having to worry about it. You are taking back your control so that other people's words and actions, of course, apart from physical harm, but in general, other people's words and actions don't have an effect on you emotionally. It's the same principle, but you have to recognize this is not like an overnight change. This is something you work on little by little by little. In fact, I have an entire course called Sensitive to Psychic that walks you through developing your inner intuition, developing your psychic gifts, which is the same thing you're doing, because in the course, we literally walk through how to build your energetic foundation, how to build your confidence, how to empower yourself, because it's like building a house, right? You can't just go pick out a custom house and buy it off the shelf, right? If you want to build your dream house, it takes time and effort, and you have to do it in layers. First, you have to lay the foundation. If you build your dream house on a crappy foundation or no foundation at all, well, guess what? It's not going to last. Like so many things in life, this is something that you have to practice little by little. The things that you take the time to build over time are the things that can change your life the most, because you are creating new habits that you can utilize subconsciously. You want to get to a place where you don't even have to think about the fact that somebody else insulted you, or the way that they're talking about you, or the way they undermined you, or the way that they're judging you, or whatever it is. You don't even have to think about it, because you have just grown to a place of living out of a space where you go, you know, that just doesn't bother me anymore. And now I'm not perfect at this, but I just want to tell you, as somebody who used to be extremely vulnerable to the judgments and the criticisms of other people, I have truly come such a long way, because let me tell you, as someone who used to be a pastor's wife, right? And is now, deconstructed my faith, I'm going through a divorce. Do you know how many people are judging me for doing this podcast, for starting a spiritual business, for offering psychic readings, for becoming this person that they do not know, that they do not understand? Because I have come such a long way from where I was 10 years ago. I'm different now. And so they judge and they talk about me behind my back and they stalk my content. And 10 years ago, that would have stopped me from doing what I'm doing today. Today, it doesn't. Today, I truly, I'm not just saying this, I do not care. And I absolutely could not have said that even 5 years ago. 5 years ago, it would have stopped me from doing what I'm doing now, from continuing on with this podcast, from speaking out against religious trauma, talking about my deconstruction. I wouldn't have been able to do it for the fear of what other people thought, or the things that other people might say that would feel like a difficult or awkward conversation. And today I don't care, because I have done so much internal work to really strengthen and build my confidence and my self-worth in myself, that I'm very confident of my path. I'm very confident of where I'm going. I have not arrived. I'm not perfect by any means. I'm still learning and growing every day. But I'm sharing this because I'm recognizing how much it has changed my life. I couldn't be here doing what I'm doing now if I didn't strengthen my boundaries. If I didn't build my self-worth up to a place where other people's words, comments, judgments, what have you, didn't affect me. I'm not going to say they never affect me or that I'll never be affected by a future event, but where I'm sitting right now, I'm very much at peace. So again, if this is something that you want to truly work on and build, go check out that course. It's called Sensitive to Psychic. It's linked in the show notes because that is going to give you a foundational training for how to get started and what to do every day, every week, every month as you build upon this confidence. And of course, then we really go into your own intuitive psychic senses, your own spiritual gifts, and how to truly develop those, which again plays into all of this. Because that's really what this entire podcast is about, is doing the internal work to get yourself to a place where you are aligned, you are living out your purpose, you are living in peace, you are abundant, you have great relationships, you are prospering, you are living to the best of your ability because you did the internal work that so many people underestimate or don't pay attention to. Good things come to those who do the work, and not the external work, the internal work. So you guys know, I say this every episode, I love analogies, right? My brain literally thinks in analogies nonstop. So here's the analogy I want to give you for this. You need to build a rock solid boundary. So I want you to think of yourself as a city, but not just any city. Like you are a place of magic. You are this like treasure city, this lost land. You are freaking Atlantis, okay? You're filled with high frequencies of love and positivities and treasures and so many things of great value, okay? That's you. But because you're so valuable and you hold so much positivity that not everyone possesses, people want a piece of you. They want to get past your fortress, right? They want to be all up in your business. They want to be checking you out because they see something different in you. They see something valuable. They see light. They see love. And they think, why do you have that? They want a piece of what you have. They want to see why and how you seem to have something that they don't. They might be jealous. They might be angry. They might be resentful, even unconsciously. But the way that it comes out is through jabbing comments or anger or pettiness. And here's the thing, you as Atlantis, as this treasure of a city, if your walls, if your fortress is not strong enough and those people do get in, they're going to steal pieces. They're going to take pieces of your treasure. They're going to come in and bring down your frequency. And then they're going to leave some of their lingering negative energy even once they're gone. They leave negative imprints. They dirty the ground with their footprints. And you can feel that they have been there even once they're gone. Even once they're not in your energy anymore, you can feel that negative presence. If you feel that, it's because they got past your defenses, they got past your boundaries, they got past your walls, and they got into your energy. So you are this beautiful, wonderful Atlantis city, right? Picture a stone fortress or this light shield around you. Whatever kind of protective boundary you want to envision, you need protection, okay? So picture this shield around you. This shield is made out of self-confidence and self-worth. Those are the ingredients. Self-worth and self-confidence make the strongest boundaries, and they keep people from being able to enter your fortress. So if you have weak self-confidence, if you have low self-worth, your boundaries, your fortress is very weak. And it's very easy for people to penetrate it. That's why I talked about going back to the foundations like I teach in my course. It's about building your self-worth, your self-confidence, your empowerment from the ground up. Because if you naturally have those things, if you naturally build that wall, the wall is just going to be there for you. Once the wall is there, you don't have to think about it every day. Like I was saying, I don't have to think about it now. When I see someone judging me or stalking my feed or, whatever it is from my past, I don't have to think about it anymore. I'm just like, whatever. I do not care. It doesn't mean that nothing ever hurts my feelings. And there's certain people that, the closer the person is to me, the harder it is to hold up that boundary because you care more. But I am so much better at it now. And I don't have to think about it as much because I built the foundation. I built the self-worth. I built the self-confidence. So now when something comes at my boundaries, my fortress, it's just there. The wall is just there. I don't have to I don't have to constantly think about it and try to be strong or try to fight back. I just have the boundary. Doing the foundational work means that you don't have to work as hard when these things come up later. But what happens if they do get past your walls, right? What happens if they do get past your fortress? Because even if you have the strongest, most impenetrable wall possible, there's always going to be cracks, right? There's always going to be a time or a person who might sneak past and who might still get through to you and affect your energy. Okay, then we still have tools that we can use, whether it's just getting space from that person, getting physical space, even if it's not someone that you can get space from permanently. If you can just get space for 20 minutes, like going into another room or separating yourself for a while or cutting back on communication for a while, not out of hatred, not in a mean way, but in an effort to protect your peace. Also, again, just remembering what we talked about at the beginning, that mental reframe of this is not a representation of me. This is them projecting their fears onto me. So it might be them criticizing something that you're doing. Maybe they don't believe in you. Maybe they don't believe in a dream you have. Maybe they don't agree with the way that you parent. Maybe they just always have a comment about something. It's just like there's always something that is bothering them that they project onto you. It's not yours. It's theirs. Also, just getting the energy out, whether it's crying or talking or journaling or walking or taking a bath or a shower, anything that can help move energy or cleanse energy is going to be your friend. Doing a short energetic reset to remove like those absorbed emotions, like a meditation or a visualization where you are envisioning the energy leaving your body. You're cutting cords. You are, in your mind, separating your energy from theirs. You're releasing it. Also, just smudging your space, so using incense or sage or Palo Santo to energetically cleanse your space. I cannot tell you, if you are not someone that regularly cleanses your living space or your workspace or whatever it is, I urge you to try it and just see how you feel. Because I kid you not, there has not been a single time where I have cleansed my space where I have not immediately felt the energetic difference. And again, I'm very sensitive to it, so I pick up on it quickly. But I do feel like this is one of those really, really underrated tools. And again, if they do get past your defenses, right? If they do get their energy into yours, what do you do? What do you do if you're a city and you've been attacked? Afterwards, what do? You strengthen your fortress. You build up your military more, right? You repair and you prepare. You come back stronger because you recognized where you had a weak spot and then you fixed it. So if this is something that is happening to you, take that as feedback. Take that as, okay, there are clearly still some spaces within me where I am not holding my boundaries, which means I still have some work to do within my self-confidence and my self-worth where I can strengthen those boundaries and not feel so affected by these difficult people. Because remember, even if an interaction is brief or rare, if you are a sensitive person, if you are an empath, you can carry that residual energy for hours or even days. One little interaction with a difficult or negative person can affect your energy for days afterwards. And if you are frequently encountering these situations where you're around difficult people or you are allowing difficult people to get past your boundaries and affect you, this will keep you from being in alignment. This will keep you from living your life to the best of your ability. It will keep you from joy. It will keep you from peace. It will keep you from your purpose because you are allowing someone else to bring down your energy. So again, going back to building up the foundations, like I discuss in the course in depth, and also the daily tools that we just talked about, letting out the energy, getting space from that person, reframing your mindset after it happens, reminding yourself that this is their projection, not your truth. All of these things are ways to re-anchor yourself in the moment. So that would be like a daily practice in the moment. Because again, like I was saying, this is not an overnight fix. It will change your life. You will be if you are someone that struggles with this or who recognizes that this happens to you often where other people get past your boundaries and affect your energy with things that they say or do or what have you. When you're on the other side of that and those people can say the same things or do the same things and it doesn't affect you, you will instantly recognize the difference. You will instantly feel, wow, this same comment or this same action from this person a year ago would have completely derailed my day, but here I am being totally unaffected by it That's life-changing. It's small, but it's life-changing. And so again, this is something that you need to practice daily. It's a foundation. It is not a one-time fix. It's a practice of conscious alignment, especially when you live in an environment that's consistently filled with tension. I have another trick that I want to share with you guys, okay? Because this is another thing that I do when I am struggling with someone and I recognize that it's causing anger in me, or I recognize that I am being triggered. Because there are people in my life that I just truly feel like are not going to grow past where they are right now, emotionally, intellectually. These are people that do not do the work on themselves. They do not want to grow. They do not want to change. And they are generally going to be people that are always going to look at you as the problem, that totally deny accountability in all sorts of ways. Okay? When you are dealing with someone like this or similar to this, what I do in my mind that has helped me have a little bit more compassion, and in doing so, not being so angry and worked up towards them myself, is I truly, in my mind, and I don't mean this in a cruel way, I mean it in such a way that you would look at a child where, yeah, maybe that child really is misbehaving or making bad choices, but you also recognize that they're a child. And as much as it frustrates you that they're misbehaving, as much as it frustrates you that they're making bad choices and you know that they need to learn to do otherwise, you can't expect them to act like an adult. You don't look at a child and expect them to act the same way that you would expect an adult to act. That is how I view these people in my life. Not in a hateful, resentful sort of way. In fact, that's exactly what I'm doing, is trying to keep myself from feeling resentful towards other people, but I look at them in such a way where I have a little bit more compassion. I say, you know, you're acting like I don't say this to them, of course. That would not be helpful. But in my mind, I look at them and I'm like, in a lot of ways, you're like a child. And again, I don't want to get on a high horse. This is not me saying I'm better than you. This is not me saying that I know more than you. This is me saying I'm actively doing work on myself to really try to have the healthiest relationships that I possibly can. But you cannot do that with everybody, because at the end of the day, both people have to be willing to look at their own actions and do internal work in order to truly, truly get to a healthy place in any kind of relationship, right? So this is me saying I recognize that you are not necessarily willing to do the work that I try to do or that I wish you would do. And it doesn't mean I'm better than you, but it means that we are in two completely different places. We are living our lives in two different ways. And so I look at these difficult people and I say, you're like a child in my eyes, and I cannot hold you to the same standard that I would an adult. It doesn't mean that I let them walk all over me or that I accept any sort of behavior because I'm not expecting them to act any better. But it means that I no longer walk into those scenarios or those relationships expecting the best, or expecting them to react the way I would react, or expecting them to not be petty or grumpy expecting them not to be petty or grumpy or just nitpicking or narcissistic or whatever it is. You are seeing them lovingly, compassionately, and what that allows you to do is to not take on their energy. You can have empathy for someone or compassion for someone in such a way that you're not resentful, but you're also not carrying the weight of their emotions. You're not attempting to fix them. You are just understanding that you are in two completely different places and you are making peace with that. You're saying, I understand that you are projecting things onto me because of what you are holding within your body, but I'm not going to hold on to that. I'm not going to take on your energy. I wish you healing, but I'm not going to carry this burden for you. I'm not going to carry your beliefs or your opinions that you're trying to project onto me. And getting to that place where you can hold that boundary without much thought, like it becomes an automatic response to these negative, difficult people, that is a superpower. Staying aligned and protecting your peace is a superpower, because boundaries and energetic protection allow you to love from a place of authenticity and presence rather than exhaustion or coercion or guilt or shame. You can live your life from your own energy without worrying so much about what other people think or if they're judging you or if they're criticizing you, because living in that state is exhausting. You're giving all of your energy away. You're giving all of your power away to other people by being so worried about their judgments or how to deal with them. Don't give them that power. Build up your boundaries, build up your fortress by strengthening your self-confidence, your empowerment, your self-worth, and making your boundary walls so strong that you no longer have to think about it. Again, if you're interested in really learning what do I do? What do I do to build up my self-confidence? What do I do to build up my self-worth? Again, check out the course. It's called Sensitive to Psychic, and it literally walks baby steps through just being a sensitive person to totally building out your spiritual gifts, which includes this foundation. That is it for today's episode. I hope that you enjoyed it. Don't forget to leave a review on Apple Podcasts, especially if you're listening over there. Also, don't forget that I offer 4 bonus episodes every single month if you are a Patreon member. And that's where I do the juicy behind the scenes deep dive episodes. So definitely go check those out if you're enjoying the podcast. And I will see you guys in the next episode of Dare Me to Prosper. Bye.